Hello! Hello, my name is Dan Keane, and a couple of days ago I asked you what you'd like to see on the channel next, and you answered resoundingly, create a film about sampling an object from beginning to end. So that's what I'm doing today. I'll probably end up making both videos, let's be honest, but it is nice to know that you want to see this kind of content, and I thought, without trying to copy my pots and pads instrument, maybe I would sample this bowl. I've really been thinking about it, and I thought about going outside, maybe recording some external noises, and I will be doing that soon, and this will be a more kind of along the journey type project. But for this, I thought it would be best to start with something tonal, maybe something that you've all got available to you at home if you want to sample something. And I'm going to create a sort of Thrumming Textures type thing because I really like making them. So it's going to be these hits that sort of decay and then I play it again. And I thought that would kill two birds with one stone because you'd actually see how I make my Thrumming Textures series, but also how I sample an instrument from beginning to end. So I'm not going to call this a tutorial, more just a day in the life, follow me along on this. The first thing to decide is what microphones we're going to use, what sounds this produces. This Pyrex bowl was not part of the Pots and Pads inventory, so and nor will it be available to download on Piano Book, but I'll leave the final instrument down below. Anyway, let's get on with it. So I do have a smattering of microphones at my disposal. I'm going to be using 3 here today. I've got a Shure SM58, which is a dynamic microphone, great for picking up the kind of really close percussive sounds. And then I've also got a stereo pair of these AKG C214 mics, which I'm going to be using to sort of capture the body of the bowl. I'm going to be hitting it with a mallet, so it's going to be a soft sound, but hopefully one that will sort of bring out as much of the tonal resonance and less of the actual kind of hitting sounds. So I'm just going to set up these mics for now. I'm going to set up the SM58 really, really close. And then I'm going to set up the AKG mics sort of about here, I think. So the idea with this is we're capturing the real kind of bitey edge of the mallet with this microphone. And then I'm going to grab these condensers and position them about 2 feet away from the bowls. So as you can see in my Logic project, I've got 2 audio tracks set up, stereo pair of AKGs here, and then this single Shure SM58. I just want to get a feel first. As a rule of thumb, I never like to peak more than minus 18 dB, so I just want to make sure this is right. Okay, I'm just gonna hit record and record a few sounds. Okay, cool. Now let's go into Logic and see what I can do with them. So we've got 2 signals here. We've got the SM58, which sounded like this. And then we've got our stereo pair of condensers. Let's go through and cut up these samples. Now I didn't do this to a click, so I'm literally just cutting where I see the transients. And let's just go through these. So these are the ones that I'm going to focus on mainly for now. We've got 6 hits here, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that they're all bang on the beginning of that transient. And then what I'll do is I'll create a nice little fade in and a nice long fade out. Now, I mentioned in a previous episode that I like to use a particular plugin, and it's called SonarWorks Reference 4. And basically this corrects my room so that what I'm hearing is quote unquote perfect. So this is going to slightly affect the sound you're hearing, but it will be worth it to know that on the other end, we'll have some samples that sound really accurate and really clean. So I'm going to start by processing this SM58. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to bring up an EQ. So there's a nasty frequency up there. I'm going to bring that down. And what I tend to do is I will pull down most of the high end, most of the upper mid-range, just so we get that fundamental note. And then I tend to add it back in afterwards. So this kind of first level is the cleaning process. So if I compare that with, it's a little bit flat. I'm going to bring it up by, say, 17 or something. That'd be fine for now. So yeah, I'm just going to cut off this low end. And I'm going to compress it a little bit. Now I'm going to use stock plugins for this because everyone's got access to the stock plugins in their software. So we don't want to completely sort of stifle this sound. Remember, this is the dynamic kind of attack that we want to get. So fairly quick attack and then a fairly gentle release. I'm looking for about 3 to 4 dB reduction. And eventually you'll kind of just feel, it just kind of feels right. That's nice. Now it depends what we want to do with this. I'm actually not sure what I'm going to do yet. So I'm going to move on to the condenser pair. Okay, now this is a lot brighter. So we've got a lot more of those upper frequencies. So I'm going to take those out first. You can see I'm just kind of ducking things where I feel it's necessary. Something horrible up there. That sounds nice. Okay, so comparing the two together. So it seems this right microphone was a little bit louder than the left. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to move these alternate ones down. And then I'm going to do something here where I flip the stereo width, swapping the left and right. Great, that will give us our variety. So what do we want to do? Well, in order to create a Thrumming Textures type sound, we need to have these sort of overlaid. So I'm going to create a mix that I like, and then I'm going to bounce these down. So with this, I'm actually going to take down the stereo width a little bit. So I'm going to go back into my directional mixer and bring down the spread to about 70%. Quite nice. I'm actually going to push that a little bit to the right. And remember to turn on stereo pan. Oops. Okay, cool. So I'm going to bounce these out. Now, at the moment, I haven't really done any sort of major processing on this. So I'm actually just going to bounce this in place. Okay, great. So I'm going to put these into their own bus. So I'm going to pull them out of the track stack and put them into their own bus. So let's create a little bit of motion here. So imagine I just move all of these close to each other. Then hopefully by the end of that first note, we don't want it to be too sporadic, but we also don't want it to be metronomic. So and then I might kind of bunch these ones together at the end. We could use another one of these. You can see we just kind of create a rhythm that we like. Don't want to overcomplicate things. That's a bit too much at the end. And these were both a bit loud, so I'm going to bring them down. In fact, what I'm going to do, I don't normally do this, but I'm just going to flatten out this top end, and that's going to take out some of that high pressure attack. Okay, so then once that is finished, I go like that. At the very end of these sounds. And I might just move these over a little bit. So there's just a little bit of movement here between the two versions. It's definitely getting louder towards the end, so let's just bring those down. So now I guess we've got to decide really what we want to do. The first thing I'm going to do is add some kind of real stylized compression. And for me, this is the CLA 76. I use the bluey version. I think it has a bit more bite to it. So I'm just going to really compress these. So I use 2 lots of compression. The first is a relatively short attack and long release. Just to really get the bite in there. And then the second is something that would be longer attack but faster release. And here I'm using maybe a dB, if that, of gain reduction at the end, whereas the other one I'm maybe using like 2 to 3. So I'm going to cut off this low end here, which there won't be much of. I want to capture some of that kind of the mallet attack. And then let's just boost that fundamental frequency. It's around the 460 mark or something. And then you see I kind of balance out underneath here. Then I'm going to find a couple of frequencies I don't like. Put something in there I don't really like. And then there'll be another one. This would be a good opportunity actually to sort of get rid of some of that hiss. And then okay, great. I think we've lost a little bit too much of that, but that's okay. And then to kind of bring it all together, I'm going to use a bit of Echo Boy to begin with. In fact, I have a DK default, which looks like this. Don't want it to be quite as extreme as that. Less feedback. I'm going to add some reverb. I'm a big fan of the FabFilter series at the moment. I will make that video about creative plugins that I like, because I have some that I'm interested in. This DK reverb is already a preset that I like. And so there's something in that I don't like. I'm going to bring up the brightness. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send this to a bus. And then I'm going to put the reverb on there. And then I'm going to EQ it on the way out. Something in there. So basically the reverb signal becomes a sort of duplicate of the original signal. I don't want it to sound like it's bouncing around in that space. Now I like to add some tape emulation. I'm a big fan of the J37 from Waves. I'm going to use that here and just get some of that sort of saturation. Okay, that's pretty nice. I do have a sort of mastering preset that I always use. For some reason, this is coming out to there. And it is the following. This is it. So, bit of compression. About 2 dB. Relatively fast attack. Automatic release. Ratio 4:1. Then I add a bit of EQ. This is just a bit of a smile. There's quite a lot of noise here, so I'm going to take that off. So I'm actually going to bring these in a bit. Okay, let's just try bouncing that out to begin with. I'm going to normalize it for now. And let's save it here. Let's just call it, so this is an A sharp 3. So there's something about it that I'm not quite sure about at the moment. For one thing, it sounds kind of out of tune. We've obviously got that denoising we still need to do. So strangely, I actually prefer it in this register. But there is still that out of tune feel to it that I'm not a fan of. So what we can do is we could start by tuning this up an octave. So this is going to mess things around a little bit. But if we, yeah. So if we transpose this up by an octave, and let's just figure out once and for all, like, what is that? A little bit flat, isn't it? I'm going to use the fantastic FabFilter Pro Q3. Just denoise this a little bit. So that's actually the mastering that's doing that. Okay, let's turn that into a low cut. Okay. So there's a frequency there. So let's not cut all of this out entirely. Okay, I think this will be better. Let's bounce this out without Sonarworks. And this is an A sharp 4. I think we're nearly there. That sounds pretty nice. One thing I don't like about the low range is it takes so long for each note to activate that we're not actually getting that feeling of it being a Thrumming Textures instrument. So what I'm going to do is, actually I'm going to transpose it down by 3 octaves. And then I'm going to bounce that as an A sharp 1. There it is. So let's bring that in there and let's just create a nice little overlap. So if this goes up to C3, then this one can go from C1. So there's the overlap. Now what we could actually do is have this stretch down all the way down to the same place. But then we could have it so that this is just a little bit quieter. So it's just sort of under the surface. Okay, now this sounds pretty good. I'm pretty happy with where this is at, but in order to take it that one step further, to turn it into something that's, you know, it's got a little bit of sort of finesse to it, maybe let's add just a couple of little sprinkly things on top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Soundtoy's Crystallizer plugin, and I'm just going to take this sound that I've kind of warped, and I'm going to take it back up to tempo. And I'm just going to add a little bit of sprinkle on top. So this this is a wonderful plugin. It just creates that sprinkle on top. And I'm going to add it an octave higher. So if I just bounce this out, bounce it in place. My kind of plan is to have this just fade in every now and again. So long fade in, long fade out. And if I bounce that out with this, so if we just see here that every now and again, just sort of pops in. If we stretch that massively. Okay, I'm kind of bored of it by then, so let's just fade that out. I quite like those frequencies clashing. Just bring that down. We've got quite a lot of low build up now. It's quite nice. And then I might do another one here, but have that just taken down Now with this, I'm going to add some tremolo. And I'm going to add some delay on top of that. Just bog standard stereo delay. And then with this one, I'm going to do the same thing. But I'm going to take down. With this one, we could also decapitate it. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to bounce this all out now. I'm going to call it, this is the A sharp 4. Take the sample, bring it back in here. See how that sounds. This is the romance of sampling. You just have no idea until you put it into the sampler. Okay, that sounds really cool. I actually think it should be far louder and come in far sooner. A lot of people won't be playing this note right from the very beginning, so just have a bit of variety there. And it's gone, and then that comes back around, and then that one plays. Great. Let's just bounce this out one more time. 0.2. Now, when I did my isolation collaboration thing, I had a couple of round robins set. So what would happen is it would play the first half of the first file and then go into the second half. And then on the round robin 2, they would be swapped around. So the second half of the file would be played. And I could do something similar with this. So here I've got basically 1 round robin, 2 round robins. So what I could actually do is import this sample in here. And right around here would be where those samples sort of take over. So I'm going to chop this there. So round robin 1 exists as it already did. But round robin 2 would look like this. We'd take this sound and we'd stretch it and put this one sort of here. So I just need to get that crossfade nice and neat. So how would that sound? As if nothing happened. So this is round robin 1. And then this will be round robin 2. So let's bounce these out. So this is going to be, these will be the final files. So we're going to have bowl, A sharp 4, round robin 1. And this one will be A sharp 4, round robin 2. So here's what we do. We've got this A sharp 1 down at the bottom. That plays every time. And then these will be our final files. Yes, yes, yes. So I'm going to auto map. And I need to create a couple of groups. So this one's going to be called A sharp 4, round robin 1. This one's going to be A sharp 4, round robin 2. And what we need is this select group by. So both of them are going to be set off by the other one. And this round robin 2 will only be activated when round robin 1 has been used. So there we go. And all I now need to do, if this works, is I need to move this into there and this into there. I play this instrument now. There's round robin 1. There's round robin 2. There's round robin 1. There's round robin 2. So a slightly strange quirk with the EXS24 is if you've got a note held down, it's actually going to, it won't actually trigger round robin 2 until you've let go of the first one. So it's actually on trigger on the key release. Final thing we need to do here is set our voice count to 64, create a little bit of a range. This is probably going to be very loud, so let's bring that down. So there we go. It's not going to be available on Piano Book, but it will be available via the link down below on both Contact and EXS24. I'll make up a quick Contact version now. Let me know if you think content like this was vaguely interesting. It's the first time I've ever done something like this. I've been filming for about 45 minutes now, so chances are it's going to be a long video. Apologies. But if you are still watching, do please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to donate to my PayPal, you can down below. Really, really grateful for your support. And I will see you in the next one.